with all kinds of digital. So that's a general introduction to me. And today we're going to be having a look at how you can create engaging content with Sway. So I've got a kind of the format of the session is going to be, I'm going to run through a very, very quick presentation just to give you an outline of Sway if you're not already familiar with it. And then I'm going to get straight into a Sway. You're more than welcome to follow along if you're going to build a Sway as you go. But the idea of the session is I'm going to try and show you some of the tips that I've picked up when using Sway, because it is a bit of a different tool, and some people don't always get along with it the first time they try to use it. So we're going to get started then, and there we go. So that's what we're going to have a look at. A lot of this is going to be demo, so I'm just going to talk very quickly about the features, but then we're going to actually get stuck in and have a look at it because I like to do things. But we're going to kind of look at how you set your sways up, the different options for setting them up, the different types of content that you can put on there, and then what you can do with the sways once you've created them. At the end, there should be time for questions, but if anyone has got any questions throughout, please do pop them in the chat, or you're more than welcome to come off mute and ask your questions. Not a problem with that. So I've got Teams open on one screen, should be able to keep up with the chat on there. Okay. So Sway, for those that don't know, is a web-based presentation tool, and it's part of the Office 365 suite. It's very easy to use, and one of the great things that I like about it is you can create sways from other content as well. You don't need to worry about how this will work on other people's devices. So that's one of the main advantages of Sway, in that you can actually use it on any device just from using a web link in a browser. So hi Linda, welcome. So basically that's what Sway is for those that don't know, and there's quite a lot of different things in Sway that we'll have a look at today. So creating a Sway, you can create a Sway from a blank Sway, so starting off from scratch. You can also create a Sway from an existing document, so for example a PDF or a Word file, and you can also create Sways from a template. I don't tend to use the template one that often. I tend to either create my Sways from scratch, or I create it from an existing document that I've got already. So that can be one of the things I'll demo in the session purposefully. I've made a PowerPoint for this session. I thought about making a Sway to present, but I thought if I make a PowerPoint, then I can show you how to turn that into a Sway in the session. So that's the different ways that you can create a Sway. So different types of content. This is one of the main things with Sway, the ability to just put a video in or an audio file. With PowerPoint, it can depend on the different versions that people are using. So actually using Sway makes it a lot easier for users to just search for YouTube URL and stick that into the Sway, and it'll just put the video embedded in the Sway really easily. So you can add things from your device or from the web, and there's different kind of searches when you're searching for content in Sway that you can choose between, so like Flickr or YouTube. One of the great things about the image search is the Creative Commons search, so all of the images that it returns are okay to use. So that's the type of content. Just have a quick look through the different groups, and then we're going to have a look at how you actually build these things together. So the text groups, you've got different types of text tools within Sway. You've got your headings, so heading 1 style and heading 2. And I'm going to talk quite a bit about those when I get to the demo, because they're actually really useful. Your text obviously is just a text card. So those of you familiar with PowerPoint, you have like slides down the side, but with a Sway you put cards into it. So different cards with different content. You don't get an awful lot of control over the type of fonts. So we'll have a look at that in a moment. This is one of the things where people sometimes don't like Sway because of that fact that it's got a few restrictions in the design. But for me, it takes that design element away and I can just put the content in. So your media content, loads of different types of media you can add in. So obviously you've got your basic images there, you've got videos, so you can upload your own videos or you can get them from YouTube. You can directly record into a Sway, so you can actually record like a narration of something into a Sway. You can use the embed code from quite a lot of different sites. Sway doesn't support all embed codes, but it supports quite a wide range, and we'll hopefully have a look at the list in the session. And you've also got the upload, and that'll kind of upload a document into your Sway and kind of set it out into cards. So you've got quite a few options on the media there. And then the groups. Groups are really useful for kind of controlling the way your content sits in a Sway. And this can be one of the more annoying things with Sway, with the way that when you put the content in, it might put them in the wrong order, especially if you're creating things like instructional guides where it really needs the instruction to be next to the picture. So I'll be showing you in the session how you can use groups to kind of try and control that a little bit more, and that can help to keep content together throughout your Sway. So groups are really, really useful, and the different types of groups as well, like your stacked group and your slideshow group, are really good for different types of content. So like the comparison group, for example, if you've got a before and after picture of a project, you can use the comparison group. It creates a nice little slider to show the before and the after picture. So the different uses for the different groups, you can get really good effects with those. The card settings, there's not an awful lot of choice on these. The different cards have different options. So some of them have 3 different sizes and some of them just have 2. And if it's like a video or something from maybe Stream, then that might have an original size option on it as well. So that you can kind of customize a little bit how big these cards will sit in the Sway, but ultimately it depends on the content as well that you've put into it. But the groups can be a good way to keep the content together, so we'll have a look at that in a second. And your Sway designs, you can choose from a range of inbuilt designs. You see the image on here shows you a few of the selections. You can also choose different layouts for your Sway. So you've got the vertical, horizontal and slide by slide. And you can customize your design a bit further as well, but it only lets you choose from certain options. The reason for that is because Sway is so portable, actually it needs to be able to work on any device. So having more customized fonts really isn't going to work on every single platform. So that's why you're kind of limited in the design choices. One of my favourite buttons in the whole design element of Sway is the remix button, and that's really good for when you've created a Sway from existing content, and you can use the remix button and it'll just change the entire content around on your Sway just at the click of a button. So it doesn't move the content, it just changes the design elements around it. So it's actually a really nice, quick, easy way to make something look different. And there's quite a bit of accessibility built into Sway as well. So there's an accessibility checker that will let you go through and pick up any issues. It's a little print screen just showing that there's some to review in the Sway that I've done that on. And you can also view it in accessibility view, which will allow you to, it clears all the clutter out of the Sway, and it means that then screen readers can actually read the page more clearly. So you can do that with the Sways as well. You can also export a Sway to a PDF. So if you need to take it out of Sway, you can as well. So that's generally the accessibility. And you've got some different Sway settings as well. So the different settings will allow you to customize how that Sway will work when you share it. Obviously, you've got different share options as well, but you can set a Sway to play on autoplay. So that might be useful if you've got an open event or a display where you need something on display. And you can actually customize how users can interact with your Sway when they're viewing it. So are they allowed to copy it? Can they change the layout themselves and things like that? So you can actually customize that further within your Sway settings. And your sharing Sways, obviously, that's quite an important part of getting that content out there. So you can share your Sway with a view link. So you've got the different options as you'd expect. So you can share it with a specific group or people. You can share it so that anyone in the organisation can access it. And the great thing with Sway is you can also share them so that anyone with the link can access them. You can also share Sways so that people have got editing rights. So you can share an edit link with someone so that they're able to collaborate with you as well. And the get visual link will actually give you a nice little visual link which looks nice in emails as well. So there's different options you've got there, and all you've really got to do is get that link, and that link can go into an email, into a message, wherever. And although it's slightly cut off down the bottom there, you'll also see that you can get the embed code for the Sway. So it's actually possible to embed a Sway in a Sway or put a quiz into a Sway. Lots of different options with Sway. So, demo time. Before I go into a demo, are there any questions so far? Super. I will assume no. That's good. So we're in the Office 365 dashboard here. This is the new look Office 365 dashboard that's popped up on mine. So I keep getting muddled up between SharePoint and Sway at a minute. But so we've got the Sway icon down there, and when you click on Sway, that's going to take you into your Sway homepage. So you've got, obviously it'll show you all of your recent Sways that you've got down there, and then you've got the options up at the top. You can launch into the templates there if you want to have a look at that. I'm not going to really focus on that today. But I'm going to look at these two really, because I think these are the main ones that, well, certainly I use. So you've got the new blank Sway, and you start from a document. So I'm going to see if I've got the file around. So when you press that, that's going to pop up a little window to look for your files. Let me see if I can actually find it. So I'm just finding the PowerPoint for this actual session that I'm doing now. So I'm just going to choose that file. It won't let me do it because it's open. Okay, let me just close it a minute. There we go. So it's just uploading it now to Sway, and momentarily when it loads it will show me what it's given me. Now, one thing to bear in mind with this, particularly with PowerPoint, because that was a PowerPoint file, if you've got design elements on your slides, it will pick them up as images. So sometimes there's a little bit of sorting out going through your Sway. You might need to remove lines that it's put in as an image card. So this is it straight out of the box without me doing anything at all. And you can see it's kind of picked up some of the design elements from the PowerPoint there that perhaps don't look so great. But it's not done too bad on my print screens that it's picked out there, and the instructions alongside it. So it's got these different things. This is the bit where I was saying about sometimes the content doesn't sit together. But it's basically taken my content, and now say if someone didn't have PowerPoint, I'd be able to share this with them quite easily just by changing the share links to anyone with a link and sending that out. So very, very quickly can you turn your current resources into Sways, and that will work with PDFs or Word documents as well. So if I click on edit, that's going to take me into the Sway design now. So Sway is built around cards, like I said earlier, and the main two tabs that you use up here are the storyline and design view. So your storyline view is where you get to see all of your cards. So it kind of lists them all down in a big long list like that, and you'll be able to see every single part that it's picked up out of your PowerPoint. So I did notice there was a couple of little things like this that really aren't of much use. So I can come along and just delete the bits that I don't want in the Sway. So that's starting to get rid of some of the content that it's popped in there that I don't need. So I can pop back up to the top. There's a couple of bits there. So you'll notice what it's done is it's actually created a heading 1, and it's right up at the top here, and it's put all of the content into that part apart from the very bottom part. Why it's decided to do that, because I've got sections, I don't know, but it has kind of done it like that. And headings are a way that you can actually split out the content. So if you just pop onto this one, this is one that I've kind of was playing around with earlier just to demo that. You've got the heading 1 cards, which is this little part here. You can collapse them down, so when you've got a large Sway, that can help you to navigate through your Sway. So you've got these like this. The great thing with using heading cards in Sway is that it creates a jumpable table of contents as well when the user's viewing it. So if I click on play there, you'll spot down the bottom here is a little button, and clicking on that will actually bring you to a really nice little table of contents, so the user can actually jump through to that content straight away. So that's why you should use headings, really. I tend to use them because it helps to split content out as well. If you're on the, just jump to the design view, you'll notice when I'm on storyline as well, by the way, that you have an insert menu over there, but when you go to design, it becomes styles. And that's because the storyline view is where you build in the content, and so you need to be able to insert from there. And then you've got the styles, which is when you're looking at the design. So that's where you need the different buttons on there. Oh, slide that person in. Super. So that's kind of like an intro, but if we go right back to the start, so if we just click on Sway. So I've built a Sway from my PowerPoint and I've got that there. But when we start from new, we basically just get a blank Sway. So I'm going to sort of go through the process of maybe if I was building a lesson or perhaps a newsletter or something like that. So let's go with newsletter. So I'm going to make an Innovate newsletter. So we need to let people know about what we do, what initiatives we've got coming up. So we could send out lots of emails, but that would be emails. And I do like sending information out in a more visual format. So creating a newsletter with Sway is a really good way to use Sway. I literally use Sway for instructional guides all the time and for online sort of tasks because it's really easy to put that content together. So I've given myself a title. You'll see here I've got a little background thing. That's going to put an image up in the heading for my Sway. So if I click on that, that's going to bring the insert menu up for me. And the great thing about Sway is it sort of uses like AI in the words that you've already got in your Sway. And so it will actually pick those up and kind of suggest what you might want to search for. So I've just gone on newsletter there. Yeah, look at that one, we'll go with that. You'll notice the Creative Commons that I was talking about earlier is ticked. So all these images are copyright free or at least free to use in your work. And then just add that. So now I've got an image. Okay. You don't get a lot of customization, as I was saying earlier. You can make it bold and you can make it into italics. And that really is about all that you can do with the titles. You can add a link if you want, but I tend to leave the titles as the name of the Sway. So you've got focus points as well. Now the focus points refer to the image. So wherever you've got an image, whether it's in a heading, a title, or just as an image card, you get focus points. The focus points can help with the animations when you play this way, but sometimes you might need to make sure that the entire image is there. So for example, if you're making instructional guides, you want to make sure the entire screenshot's visible and it's not cutting any buttons off. So you can say that the entire image is important so that when you play it, the whole thing will be displayed. So you can do that, or if you untick it, you can actually select a portion of the image that will be the focus point. So that will be the main part when it's on a smaller screen that it will actually show. So I'm just going to say the entire image and close that. So you'll notice it's highlighted in green, the card, and we've got a little plus. Now, one of the things I'll just point out before I go on is with the titles, if you've put the wrong image in or something like that, you can actually expand your title card with the arrow there, and then you're able to delete the image should you have put the wrong one in. So that can be quite useful if you need to change them. I think you can drag onto it as well, but it will still put the image as a separate card. So we've got the plus here, and this is how we now add in all our content. So you'll see it's on the suggested when it first goes into it, and these are the main sort of things that people use in Sways. But I'm going to pop in here and I'm going to put I'll put a heading card in. So what is in this issue? Put a little bulleted list in there. Staff development, training. We'll just go with that for now. So I'm going to make that a little bulleted list, because we're using a text card, we can add in bullets or numbers. So we've got 2 extra buttons on the text card there. And then along this side, we've got the sizes. So this was where I was saying about the sizes of the card. So just before I change that, if we look at design, you'll see now what I've got. I've got a really large picture and a mouse, and I've got some quite small text. So as that's really the sort of objectives, the main bit where I want to see people what's going to happen in here, I might want to make that a bit bigger, a bit more eye-catching. So when you're in the design tab there, you can actually click onto these cards as such, although you can't see those cards in here, and you can change them directly from the design view. So if I click emphasize there, I can make that text moderate and then see what that looks like. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about the colours and the fonts at this point, but that makes it a little bit bigger like that. So then I'd come along, me building Sways, this is kind of the formula that I've made that I find works, that helps to lay the content out. So then I would come along and I'd put my heading card in. I might have some other content up there, but when I start to get onto my next section, I'd put a heading 1 card in. So we're going to look at staff development because that was the first thing on our list. Again, we've got the background there, so we can click on that and that'll let us put a picture in there if we want. And we've got the same options as we had with the title card. So that's basically that. Obviously, the little bin at the end of any card you've got selected will delete it. So I can now go and add more content, and I might just add some text, and we maybe put an image in there. So something in. Can drag them from there as well, rather than clicking on them and pressing add. So there's different ways that you can do that. And if you decide that you want more in, just drag them in. If you've got files on your computer, you can use drag and drop like that as well. So there's different ways you can get your content into your Sway. I tend to use the drag and drop from that menu because I just find it easier. If you're on a device that maybe has a different interface, you might find it easier just to click on it and press the add button. But so that's that, and this is what we have been doing. So I've now got a heading 1 card and I've got a load of pictures. So let's have a look what we've got. I tend to find when I'm building a Sway, a really good thing is just to keep having a look at that design and just to see how your content's sitting. So these pictures are really quite big, and I maybe don't want them taking up that much space on the Sway. So that's where your groups can come in. So I'm going to come along onto this first picture, and there's a little tick box down the bottom there. So if you tick the boxes of the things you want to group, and you'll notice you've got this nice green bar here, and you can click group on there. So now I've grouped those images together. I've got some different options of the type of group that I want to use. So stacked group will create like a little stack of images that you can click through and it'll work like a stack of photos. You've got the slideshow view or your grid view. I'm going to pop it in the slideshow view because that'll put it in just one image size and then people can scroll through them. And on your groups as well, once you've grouped them, you get 3 sizes, so you can actually make it a bit bigger. But let's just go have a look what it looks like. So we've got a bit of text, and we've got a group down there, and you'll see we've got the little arrows to go through. So if I pop back, it was a bit small that, I maybe want my pictures a bit bigger, so I can just make that like that. Okay, so that's kind of the idea of how you set it out. Once you've got some content in, you can then carry on and you can add in, for example, like a heading 2. Heading 2s are not necessary, but if you've got sort of subtopics within a topic, then use heading 2. Same way you would within folders or in a Word document if you've got a title and then subheadings. So think of Sway in the same way. So I'm just going to pop another heading 1 card in and do that. And then let's pop some media in this time. So we've got the image, video, audio, embed and upload options there. So I'm going to choose a video, and that's taken me along into the search. Now what I've not shown you before is this little drop down up here. So when you're inserting images or videos, you can choose from different sources. So it's usually on the suggested, which is searching the internet as a whole. But you can get things from your OneDrive or from YouTube, or you can even upload things from your device. So I'm just going to look on YouTube. Let's go for Sway training. We'll go for that one. So I can click it and press add, and that's going to add in my video. So just like all the other cards, the video card has a size. It's a bit small, so we may make it a bit bigger. And it's just a case of adding in content like that and going all the way through until you've got all of your content in. Don't worry at this point too much about the design. Some people like to get the design at the start. Personally, I like to sort of work my way through and get quite a bit of content in first and then settle on my design and then finish adding the content in. Partly because the type of content you're putting in sort of dictates the design. And I find with Sway there's a bit of compromise on the design. I use PowerPoint all the time because I like the fact that there's quite a few advanced features in there, so they're clicking through from different slides. But the thing I like about Sway is you don't need to worry about all the design, and it's so easy to share. So say I don't really particularly like this design and I want to have a look at a different one. I can use any of these options down the bottom here. So if we click on this one, I'm going to have a black background. So it kind of just changes everything for you. You'll see it's even moved the title down to the bottom of the image. So they've all got a variety of different options within them, and you just need to have a play to see what fits your content. The little arrows along here will let you go and look at different designs as well. But say you find a design that you think, actually I quite like that design but I don't like the font, you can come into customize here and you can go and customize things a little bit more. Again, you only get certain choices, so you're not given full freedom in choosing whichever font you want, but it is, I think it gives you enough choice to pick something that suits. You can pick different colour palettes as well, and that kind of picks from your content, so that's quite useful. But that's how you can customize your designs a little bit. You've got the different layouts as well. This one's my favourite layout. I like the scroll up and down one. But the horizontal layout also works very well on touchscreen devices. So devices where you just swipe in, so they actually work really well on there. You'll see that's just changed it around there. It's not changing the content, it's just changing the way that it views. So it's a really good tool for, you can refresh your presentations year on year just by pressing the remix button and updating the content, and it'll look like a completely different resource. So the remix button up at the top there, I'll just press it because I do like showing that one. And that has changed everything now. So we've got a bright pink design there, a little bit eye-catching. Press remix again. Oh, it's changed the layout as well this time. So you see it changes absolutely everything on your sway, but not the content. There is an undo button, so if you decide after pressing remix a couple of times that the design you had originally was fine, then you can always go back to that. So that's kind of a general overview of using the design features and how you add in some content. You've got up at the top here, the 3 dots will give you all the settings for your sway. So as I was saying about the accessibility checker, here we go, so I knew that would come up with some. And you can literally just type the alt text into this screen here and then click next to go through, or mark it as a decorative image, for example, and go through. So you can just do that, and that then gets rid of the accessibility issues in your presentation. When you go back, you'll see it updates down to the number that you've got left. It'll always give you this little review just to sort of give you that heads up that you need to review these things. And you can view some tips as well there, which will load in another website. That's your accessibility checker. And you've got accessibility view there, which is going to probably, there's not that much content on this one, but it kind of just puts everything down on a screen so that the screen reader then can pick up that content. So that's that. And then we've got the settings for the sway as well. So I was talking about these earlier, and this is how you can control what other people can do with your sways. So you maybe don't want people to be able to duplicate your sway. You might not want them to do that. So you can untick that box and then decide, do you want to let them print it? Do you not want to let them print it? Do you want to let them change the layout themselves or not? You might want to restrict it, or you might want to just let them have that option. The sway informational footer, you'll see that at the bottom of every sway. Don't know if I'll show it on preview. No, I'll do it on there. But the sway informational footer, it kind of gives a link off to sway. So that's the sway informational footer. And what you can do is you can turn that off and then put an image or something with your contact details at the end. So that actually then gets rid of this little bit, and it just has your sort of sign off at the end, which can make it just look a bit more professional. So that's kind of that, and I think so we've just got some different things of the layouts of the sways. If you want it going the other way, if you're from a different country and that's the way the writing works, then you'd maybe use that option. I don't need that. So, and the autoplay down the bottom there, you can turn that on and then set the amount of time that that's going to take on each slide. It's not really a slide as such, it's more of a screen. So if I pop it right down like that, I'm going to play. You kind of just sit back and it'll just scroll through the content for you. So if it was on a display or anything like that, then that would just keep going and your pictures and things would come up. So there's quite a lot you can actually do with Sway. It's very useful. And now I can't get out of it. Thank you. Oh, my mouse is gone. Thank you. Lovely. So I'm going to stop there because I've talked quite a bit. Are there any questions? Does anyone want to look at anything in particular?
Elaine, can you put an audio file over the top of this?
Right. Do you mean like playing music alongside of it?
Well, no, just thinking in terms of presentations. You could have a pre-recorded presentation file that folks could then upload, or
yeah,
you can attach an audio file to an overlay file to PowerPoint.
Yeah, so how I would probably do that is I'd probably create a PowerPoint recording and then pop it in Stream or YouTube or wherever, and then embed it from there. You can record audio straight into the Sway. So if I go on audio there, you've got you can actually upload an audio file to it, or you can press record. Some of our tutors use this on their Sways so that if they've got quite hefty written instructions, they'll also narrate it into the Sway, an audio recording, so the student can choose to listen to it if they want. Something to note with the accessibility view as well is you can use read aloud with that if you're in Edge, so you can actually have that read back to you as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. Cheers.
No worries, then. Oh, we've got a question. Excellent. Colleagues in my school who couldn't attend today but are really keen to use Sway, do you mind if I share the video? Not at all. No, that's absolutely fine. I'll probably be posting it out on Twitter anyway. So yeah, I'll have to take it off Stream because obviously it will get recorded into Stream. Do that over the weekend and pop it on YouTube, and I'll send an email out to you all on Monday, and then feel free to share it with whoever you want. That's not a problem. It is, I think with Sway, from my point of view, when I first started using it, I didn't like it. And I don't mind saying that. I found it quite restrictive, and I didn't like the fact that I couldn't choose where to put content. But if you get over that, then the actual ease of making that available, and the fact that you can get embed code for a Sway, just having the link to a Sway, paste that into a OneNote, and it'll embed the Sway straight in a OneNote, and things like that. So you can actually really use Sways in a lot more places, I think, than PowerPoint. So yeah, feel free to share the video, not a problem. Any other questions, requests? That's fine, thank you. Thanks for coming. It's good. I think one of the main things is just making sure you check your design as you go in. Group the content. I know this was one of the things I was going to show you on this one. I'll just show this before I stop the recording. So here where the content wasn't sitting right, little bugbear of mine, but really I want the media one to sit alongside that, and I want the groups to sit alongside the groups. So in theory, I should be able to change that if I can find it on my thing. Oh no, I've gone too far. There we go. So if I get this one, and this one, I'm going to say it doesn't always work. This is just usually does, but Sway is a beast to sometimes get to work for you. Nope, it's done it. Yay. So you can see there that I've actually managed to move that content now down to alongside the paragraph it relates to, just by grouping those two cards. And sometimes things like that can just make your Sway work better. So yeah, definitely think about using groups. Thank you all for your comments. I will stop the recording there, and if anyone has got any more questions, they're more than welcome to stay and ask. But if not, you're free to enjoy your day.